Hello everyone, my name is Megan Remedy. I'm a holistic nutritionist and today's video is going to be on my ex-vegan story. So I just wanted to start out with a little backstory of how I got into veganism. I had severe cystic acne throughout all my teenage years. It got worse and worse as I got older. Part of the reason was birth control messing with my hormones, but that's a whole other story. So eventually, I think I was 22, I got really fed up. So I didn't just have cystic acne on my face, I had it on my chest, I had it on my back, and it was really, really embarrassing to have it in a lot of feminine areas or areas that were hard to hide. The cysts would be, like, sometimes they would be golf ball sized cysts, and they were extremely painful. So it wasn't your average, teenage acne. So I decided to start Accutane, and within a few weeks I noticed my skin clearing up. Everything was looking great. It looked like it was working, and for the most part it did clear up most of my acne. I was on it for about 6 to 7 months and I couldn't handle it anymore. I still had like a few pimples left, so I was trying to be on it a little bit longer, thinking that as long as all the pimples were gone, then my acne wouldn't come back. But I had to stop because of the excruciating pain that I was in. I was getting severe depression, and my muscles, my joints, my body was just achy. It was excruciating pain. I can't even describe how bad the pain was from Accutane. So how it works is it dries out your pores. It dries out the oil in your pores essentially, so that the bacteria doesn't really have anything to feed off of. And I felt like it dried out my whole entire body, like my joints, everything. Nothing had moisture. My eyes were so dry that my eyelid, when I blinked, would stick to my eyeball, and I would have to like kind of pry it open. Yeah, anywhere that there's supposed to be moisture in the body, there was no moisture going on. My mouth was so dry, my lips would crack, my nose would bleed. It was brutal. I noticed that my skin started really aging when I was on Accutane because of how dry it made my skin. So long story short, it was brutal and I had to stop. My cystic acne went away, except for if I ate cheese. If I had dairy, I would get a cyst like that. So I had avoided dairy for a long time because I noticed that it made my acne worse. But that was still the case after Accutane, is that I could not eat dairy or I'd get pimples. So then I was extremely sick. I had developed digestive issues. Apparently the doctor diagnosed me with IBS. I couldn't digest anything. Every time I ate something, whether it was a little piece of fruit or a salad, even if it was healthy, I would bloat out really badly. I would get excruciating pain, and it felt like my peristalsis wasn't working. So peristalsis is like the natural movement that helps food go down the throat, through the digestive system, and out to be eliminated, and that had halted. It wasn't working for me at all. I went to several specialists, a gastroenterologist, doctors. They could not help me, and this process took a long time. So by this time I had lost a lot of weight, was in a lot of pain. I was getting really depressed from all of it. And at the time, someone had suggested to go see a Chinese herbalist in downtown Toronto. It's called the Herb Depot. And I was desperate. I needed relief. I needed help. I was withering away. So I went down to see Donna there, and she told me that my liver and my kidneys were failing. And the hospital never told me this when I went to the emergency room in excruciating pain several times. But She told me that my organs were on the verge of failing because of how toxic my body was from the medication, and that she suggested a plant-based diet to eliminate animal products, and she was going to give me a big bag of herbs to boil and drink as the medicine part. So I left there not knowing what the heck to eat, not knowing if I was going to listen to her or not. I had always been pretty healthy, but completely cutting out animal products never crossed my mind. So I started doing research. At this time, I didn't take her diet advice. I was just drinking the herbs. Within a few days to a week, I had gotten so much relief from the herbs. They really, really saved my life because I could not digest anything. I was just on a liquid diet, juicing and things like that, just to get in some nutrients. So once the herbs started helping me, I realized that this lady's onto something. She knows what she's talking about. So I decided to look more into a plant-based diet or a vegan diet like she had suggested. That's when I came across, all the documentaries on YouTube and Netflix, and I watched all of the health documentaries at first. I was obsessed with the healing part, getting myself back to normal, feeling like my old self before Accutane, so I really dove into that part. And decided to pretty much go right into it and stop eating animal products. So for the first few months, I felt amazing. I was juicing, I was taking the herbs that she had recommended, and I was feeling really good. For the first time, I had started gaining a little bit of weight and getting more energy back, and was finally able to get off the couch and start working again and feeling back to normal. I became obsessed with it. I really did. And it was all, I had good intentions. I definitely was one of the vegans that wanted to tell everybody about it. I wanted everybody else to discover this amazing lifestyle, like friends and family, and I was very influential to them. A lot of my friends and family tried it out, or they went fully vegan because of my influence, because they seen my struggle and that it had helped me. So we fast forward a couple years later. I loved the lifestyle so much. I was so interested in natural healing because it had saved my life that I decided to go back to school so I could pursue a career in something to do with health, healing, nutrition. So that's when I discovered the school that I graduated from, which is called IHN, the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. It's a Canadian school. They have a few different campuses in Ontario. I went to the one in Mississauga. When I read their curriculum online, I was instantly knew that I wanted to go there. I was instantly obsessed, and I enrolled. It was a 2-year program. I loved it, but I started to slowly, at that time I started to feel really bad. I started to have a lot of energy issues, blood sugar issues, just overall not feeling myself again. I felt like I was kind of reverting back to how I felt post Accutane, and I was really into figuring out now what was going on again while I was in school. But I was still very stuck in this vegan mentality, and that, animal products are horrible for you. Vegan's the only way to go. And so I was kind of blinded a little bit to some of the things that my teachers were teaching or were saying because I didn't agree with them. I'm the expert after only a couple years of being into this industry. So a few teachers would say certain things, like strict veganism is not healthy because you can't get certain nutrients on the diet, and I just thought that they were just meat lovers and they're just saying that just to say that. But in the back of my mind, I was paying attention. I knew that there was something that really wasn't working for me, and I had noted all these things. I would like to think of myself as someone who is pretty reasonable person. So I wasn't, crazy if someone brought up a certain topic or a certain fact. I always took it into consideration. So I remember a lot of teachers bringing up things saying that veganism doesn't work for most people. Sometimes people can develop certain neurological issues from it, depression, all sorts of different health issues, and that it only works for a small percentage of the population. So I finished school. I loved the program. I actually started while I was in school helping clients, getting clients. As a student, a lot of people were interested in going vegan, and I seemed to have the answers that they needed, so I helped a lot of people go vegan, which now I kind of regret and feel a little bit guilty about after my experience with it. But so I graduated school and I started feeling really crappy. I think it was because I was so busy during school that I couldn't really pay attention to it. So as I finished school and had more free time to pay attention to my body, to pay attention to what was going on, I started checking in with myself and realizing, like, I feel really shitty. This is not how I should feel. This is not normal. I have no energy. I'll run through like a list of different symptoms I had. So I had extreme fatigue, and I noticed that my strength in the gym, I used to work out all the time and lift pretty heavy on my lower body. I noticed that my strength was going down a lot. I could no longer do squats because I would get these weird like muscle twitches, like muscle burning sensations in my legs, almost like the muscle was too tight or too dry and it couldn't perform the exercise without kind of tearing a little bit. That was the sensation, like just like in the middle of my muscle, it would kind of feel like it was tearing while I was trying to do the exercise instead of stretching and moving like it should. And so I just stopped doing squats because they were too much for my body to handle. And I started doing more isolation exercises, lighter weights. I just figured, my body's burnt out from school and work and everything else, and I would just take it easier. But the weights that I would do kept getting lower and lower and lower. I also had I couldn't do squats because I had extreme pain in my neck and my back. So I was in a car accident where I got whiplash and some injury to my neck, but it seemed like that injury was getting worse instead of getting better. I would have extreme burning, like nerve pain, muscle pain in my back to the point where I would just sleep all day because the pain was too excruciating. I could not handle when that burning sensation started and certain things would trigger it. I couldn't handle it. I was done for the day. I couldn't do anything else, so it was really debilitating. Also, I had insomnia, and it was almost like I just couldn't relax. I couldn't relax enough, so I was doing a lot of herbs to help me fall asleep at night. I developed depression and anxiety again. So I had severe depression and anxiety around the Accutane time. It got better, definitely, when I felt better, when I started eating better, taking herbs, and then it went on another downhill, and I started to get severe depression and anxiety towards the end of my second year of school. I was just trying to push through it, that's just the kind of person that I am. I don't feel like I'm a naturally depressed person, but because I enjoy fitness so much and just feeling my best. Whenever I don't feel my best, it kind of triggers a little bit of anxiety and depression. So I had extreme muscle cramps, muscle soreness after the gym. No matter how many supplements I took for recovery, BCAAs, like all of that, protein powders, it didn't matter. After the gym, within a few hours sometimes, or the next morning, my muscles, every single muscle in my body hurt so bad, to the point where I couldn't even stretch because they were so tight and so painful. It was like an excruciating pain that I have never felt before. It's almost like that muscle soreness when you work out extremely hard and you haven't worked out in a while, and it's like a weird muscle that you never hit, and you're in so much pain. That times like 10. That's how bad every single muscle hurt. Just after a regular workout, I didn't even push myself that hard. I had decreased my weight, and I was still in excruciating pain. So whatever nutrients I was missing in my diet was contributing to that. I'll get to that later when I change my diet up. And then another thing, physically, I started noticing that my face was sagging. So these nasolabial folds, they were getting worse. They were getting really bad, like an old lady bad. And I'm only 27. My face has always been pretty plump and pretty tight. I've never had any problems like that. But my face literally looked like it just started sagging, just drooping, and I had really bad under eye bags. They were extremely puffy. And so once I started noticing these signs and symptoms in myself, I started noticing the signs and symptoms in a few of the people that I had helped go vegan. So my best friend, we had talked about it a few times. She had noticed the same thing in her face, where these nasolabial folds were kind of like, she was getting a little bit of jowls like I was. The puffy under eyes, just not looking fresh-faced and youthful anymore. And for two women who are in their 20s, you should not be having extreme aging like that. You should definitely take that as a sign that your diet is not working for you if your face is deteriorating. So that was one of the major signs and symptoms for me, because my back, I had figured it was just because of the car accident, that's why I was having back pain. And this whole time I thought Accutane was the reason for a lot of my physical symptoms or digestive system symptoms, which I also had a lot of. I had started losing my appetite because it was just too much fiber for me to break down. I really didn't want to eat a big thing of beans and salad and things like that anymore, because it felt like it was too much on my digestive system, and I would get extremely bloated again, like I did when I was coming off Accutane. So one thing that I wanted to mention was that I started craving eggs ravenously. Like, I just wanted an egg yolk in my mouth. Like, that's all I wanted. And I went to this one day. I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it. Like, what's the big deal? I was still very stuck in the vegan mindset, and I was confused. I still wanted to be vegan, but I knew that my diet was not working for me. I had went to school for this. I knew if veganism is going to work for you, I knew exactly what to eat, exactly how to do it. I had tried several different vegan diets. I, listened to Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen bullshit, all of that. So I knew it wasn't working for me anymore. I had tried every single vegan avenue that there was. I was vegan for about 4 years. And so I was extremely ravenous for eggs one day, and I went to this restaurant in Toronto called Thrive Organic, and I ordered eggs. It's a vegetarian restaurant, so the only animal product they have is eggs and I think some dairy. I oh my god, like I can't even explain how I felt after my first egg yolk. This was before I watched any ex-vegan videos. So within 5 minutes, I asked for the egg yolks to be pretty raw, and I just dipped bread in the egg yolks. But within 5 minutes, my brain started tingling, and it was almost like it was dry, or there was a hole in my brain that was kind of being nourished or being fused together from this egg. And within 15 minutes of finishing both eggs, I immediately like just felt a rush of relaxation throughout my body that I hadn't felt in a long time. Didn't realize how tense I was from not eating animal fat. And the amount of energy that I had that day was insane. Like, I immediately felt back to normal. I immediately felt like myself. And this was not influenced by any ex-vegan stories because I hadn't watched them yet. This was just my personal experience. And so right in that moment, I knew that I had to make a change to my diet. I was still in denial a little bit. I was having the same cognitive dissonance that I had when I discovered veganism, knowing that I had to leave it behind and go back to eating animal products. I had a really hard time mentally with that because I don't think anybody wants to harm animals. I don't think anybody wants to participate in the factory farming and what's going on. I still think that it's absolutely disgusting, and we need to be focusing on how we can ensure that those types of businesses get put out of business. I don't think it is ever going to be a black and white issue of everybody can be vegan. That's not going to happen because of our biological needs. But as human beings, as people that care still and want to purchase things as ethically as possible, there are options. It doesn't have to be, you know, veganism is the only option. And so I started looking into it more. I started researching more. It was pretty clear to me that I had to leave veganism behind. I just felt so much better, and I couldn't deny that. So then I started doing more research. That's when I found the ex-vegan videos. That's when I found Sivridge, is that how you say his name? That's when I found his videos. And I had watched one where the lady was talking about the first time she ate an egg and feeling the sensation in her brain, like there was a hole closing. I don't remember what video it was, but I remember listening to that and being like, oh my god. And realizing the more and more that I listened to these ex-vegan stories, that the symptoms that they were experiencing were the exact same symptoms that I was experiencing. And that's what kind of really made it obvious that I couldn't do this anymore. And ever since then, I've been incorporating pasture eggs. I'm still very health conscious about the quality of the animal products that I consume and if they are from an ethical farm, which is possible. So yeah, I consume pasture eggs. I consume some fish. I consume cod liver oil. What else? Sometimes collagen, just because I feel like my skin needed so much more help after all these years of Accutane and veganism. And yeah, I still eat a very plant-based diet. I don't think that I could do the carnivore thing. It's too much meat for me. I've never been big on red meat at all. It always grossed me out. It still really does gross me out. And I love plants. I think plants are they're very detoxing. They're very medicinal. And with that being said, plants are breakdown foods. That's just their nature. They detox us. They cleanse us. That is the nature of plants. Whereas animal foods are very building. So they help build our bodies up. They're the building blocks for our bodies. And so I don't believe in a very extreme approach of, full veganism or full carnivore anymore. I think that somewhere in the middle is healthy for most people. There's periods of time where you need more building foods and periods of time in your life where you need more breakdown foods. And that is up to you and a professional to decide which combination at that point in your life works best for you and the condition that you're going through. And so I feel like I got to the point where I was breaking down so much and detoxing so much that that's not what my body needed anymore. And it started, instead of cleansing, it started deteriorating my body. My nutrient stores were definitely depleted when I started feeling like crap, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And I feel so much better, including some animal fats in my diet. My digestion has improved. My skin has improved. I'll literally eat some animal fat, a high fat meal, and my skin will like plump up. Like these nasolabial folds will plump up and they'll start to diminish. So I'm hoping over time I can reverse a little bit of the damage that I did being on a strict vegan diet. If it works for you, if the vegan diet works for you, that's great. I'm jealous because I wish that it could work for me. I wish that I didn't have to eat animal products. I still have that mindset where I just wish it was possible for me. But yeah, it doesn't work for everyone. It's not, if you are a nutritionist and you are pushing veganism and you think that veganism is the only way, you are really doing a disservice to your clients, because they're going to feel great at first, but they're going to start having health problems. I would say most people within 1 to 3 years is the mark of when they start experiencing health problems on a vegan diet. And so it's great as a little detox, a little transition from a standard American diet into eating healthier, but I definitely do not think that it is a sustainable lifestyle for thriving on. I know that the comments in these ex-vegan videos are always pretty controversial, but what I have to say to vegans is that you definitely need to take into consideration the human suffering. For myself, for example, I was very into the ethical part of veganism after I discovered the health part, and I would never harm an animal unnecessarily. But when you're suffering, when you are literally wasting away and dying because of the diet that you are on, it becomes, the ethical argument becomes null, because as a human, I can't survive and I can't thrive without having a little bit of animal fat and protein in my diet. So with knowing that, after trying it for 4 years, it changes the whole ethical argument, because am I supposed to let myself suffer? Am I supposed to let myself die and literally wither away and become emaciated because of animals? No, like that's not how it works. Like there's a cycle of life, everything consumes something. That's just how Earth works. That's how life works. And so, of course, try and do everything and source everything from as ethical as possible. But yeah, I think that vegans need to be more understanding to people who can't do it, and who don't feel good on it anymore but are still trying. Like, I can understand if someone goes back to eating McDonald's and Burger King and shit after they've been vegan for however long. I don't really think that those people take it serious. I don't really think that they ever did care. But someone like myself who is still seeking health, is still seeking nutrition, is trying to source and pay triple the price for eggs as regular eggs because I want to source my eggs from somewhere where they're not grinding up baby chicks and where, you know, the chickens are running free and they're in pasture and the quality of the eggs and the nutrients are a lot better. That's a completely different story than going back to eating McDonald's. And there's a lack of common sense when it comes to these topics in the comments from a lot of vegans. There's a lack of understanding, there's a lack of empathy. All of these things that vegans preach, there's a lack of this in the comments when someone is explaining their ex-vegan story and explaining why it's not working for them anymore. And I think it's extremely hypocritical. It's extremely hypocritical to only care about animal suffering but not human suffering when humans are also animals. The whole thing doesn't make sense to me. But I wish the best for those vegans. I was once there. I wouldn't say I was that extreme as like attacking people and things like that, but I was once very passionate about the ethical parts, which I still am. It's just in a little bit more at one with nature approach, I guess, than the extreme veganism side of it. Yeah. And so if you would like to comment your vegan story down below, I would be really interested in hearing what kind of symptoms you had, your journey, your experience. If you have any questions, comment below and make sure to subscribe.